Okay, I'm going to start this promptly at noon Pacific, 3 p.m. Eastern. This is an info session about Locust Project's current open call for MFA students. The program is called LabMFA, and it is a residency and exhibition that will occur this summer at Locust Projects. I am Elizabeth Winstanley. I am one of the 3 artists that founded Locust Projects back in 1998. Behind me, you'll see an image of the project room, which is the space that you will be applying for your project to be in. So if you're watching this recording, then you missed the live session, but hopefully your questions are answered. If you are here for this live session, you can put any questions into the Q&A or the chat, which I will answer once I get to the end of this, which hopefully answers most of your questions. So hopefully you can all see my screen. Please let me know in the chat if you're not seeing that. I'm going to advance. I'm not going to advance. I'm stuck. Bear with me. Okay. Locust Projects, who we are. It's important, I think, when you apply to anything to read the mission statement of the organization to understand who they are. So I'm just going to quickly go over our mission statement here. So you understand what you're applying to. So Locust Projects is an arts incubator producing and presenting exhibitions, programs, and projects. Our mission is to create opportunities for visual artists at all career stages, invite risk-taking and experimentation, activate conversations around new art and ideas, advocate for artists and creative practices, and inspire the next generation of artists. So going on, I don't know why I'm having so much trouble advancing. There we go. Okay, so this open call, Locust Projects recently moved to a new space, which you can see behind me here. This exhibition space is a 625 square foot space, which is the project room. So what we are looking for in this is we're looking for exhibition proposals that reflect an expansion of your practice, whether that be in conceptual, scope, scale, or media, or all 3. Proposals can reflect new work that will be created for the exhibition and has never been presented before, or work that's being created on site. So Locust Projects, all of our exhibitions are commissioning exhibitions where we're commissioning new work from the artist. So it shouldn't be work that you have created and shown before. So we will prioritize projects that demonstrate unique methods, processes, and concepts, particularly those that could not be presented in the traditional gallery setting, and with an emphasis on site-specific and installation. That's what we founded the organization on, is creating a space for artists to expand upon their practice, explore new ideas that didn't fit well into the commercial gallery system. With that, looking for artists to create site-specific works. So if you're wondering, am I eligible for this? Well, if you are currently enrolled as an MFA Studio Art student at a program in the United States during the spring of 2024, whether you're first year graduating, if you're in a 3-year program, if it's your 2nd year, all of that qualifies. We do accept collaborative artists, but both artists need to be currently enrolled in a Studio MFA program. We do not prioritize one over the other. I know the past couple LabMFA artists that we work with have been collaboratives, but it's just happened that way. It was not that we're looking for that. So you're certainly welcome to apply as an individual artist or a collaborative, but everybody needs to be enrolled as an MFA student in a studio art program. So when is this? It's really coming up. So the residency dates are from May 27th to July 6th. Your project will be exhibited from June 13th to July 6th. You can stay at the residency the whole time if you'd like. You can stay, up to June 13th and come back for a committed program if that's how things are set up. It's up to you. Just as long as you have the project ready by June 13th in the space. The residency space that we have available for you is in the design district in Miami. It is a house that has more than one bedroom, so it is possible that another artist may be there at some point during the time you're there, or they may not. I can't say at this point. So what we are looking for, and I'll go into all of these things in detail after this slide, this kind of brief summary of what you are putting together for this, which is your resume, a project proposal, a floor plan rendering of the project room, showing us how you're going to use that space, an artist statement, some images of recent or related work, and a letter of recommendation from a current professor. So let's dive into these a bit more in detail. So the project proposal, what are we looking at here? Or what are we looking for? We're looking for 250 words that concisely explain to us the specific project that you're proposing. These should not be riddled with complex, artsy words. It should just be very clear that anybody could read and understand. It's always good to, after you write one of these project proposals, give it to your parents or your grandparents or an older relative to read and see if they understand what you're proposing. Keep in mind, we're not in your head. So sometimes, project proposals suffer from that artists are not breaking down what they are proposing. So some ways to do that is tell us the medium or mediums you're using. What are you trying to convey with your project, and how will your idea be realized? If the project, for example, if you are a graduating MFA student right now, you might also want to address in this proposal how the proposed work is an expansion of your MFA thesis project, because we are not looking for your MFA thesis project to be directly shown at Locus Projects. That's not what we do. Okay, next is the floor plan rendering. So this is one of the requirements that we ask you to download the floor plan of Locus Projects and show us how you're using that space. On the submittable form and also on the Locus Projects website, you'll get to a document that has, this very simple floor plan, just giving you some dimensions of the space. Here's a few images with nothing in the space, and there's some additional information on that PDF that shows you specifics about the floor plan. The floor plan rendering does not need to be anything fancy. You literally can take, this this image of the floor plan and just, sketch out, okay, there's a mound of rocks here, there's a video screen here, there's a faux skeleton of a dinosaur here, whatever it is. It can be elaborate if you want it to be elaborate. Either works, but I just want to make it clear that it doesn't need to be anything more than a sketch so that we understand how you're using the space. Next, this is just kind of scrolling through a few recent LabMFA artists that were selected. I would highly recommend going through our website and looking at our past exhibitions, both of the LabMFA and exhibitions in general, because it gives you a good idea of the types of projects that we support. So this is the 2021 Victoria Ravelot, who encased these items. In this case, it was a little dinosaur. She was our most recent single artist. Then Whitney Humphreys, this is from 2019. This is our old project space. Just keep that in mind when you're looking at some of the images on the past exhibitions. They'll show you pictures of the old exhibition space. There's only been a couple of projects that have been in the new space. I'm just showing you one of them here. This is Jen Clay. This was not a LabMFA show. But I put this in here just so you could see the project room and you could see how an artist used the space. So take a look, definitely take a look at our website. The artist statement. So this is, an important one because we don't know you. We don't know what you do. We don't know what your work is about or what you're trying to do. So give us a concise 150 words statement that talks about your practice, what your work is about, how do you work, are you a research-based artist? Are you a process-based artist? Do you start with a clear and concise idea and just execute it? Is your work affected by the process of creating it? Do you work specifically in a particular medium, or is your work the medium evolve as, project to project? And then how does a viewer play a role in how you present your work? Then the letter of recommendation. This is very important. So you'll see on the submittable application, which I might have a moment to also go through with this, where you do need to attach it to your application. But if your professor prefers to email it directly to us, in that area where you have to attach something because it doesn't let you submit unless you attach something, just submit a document that says, my recommendation letter is coming from, and list the person's name, they're emailing you directly. So that clues me into when I prepare all of the applications for the review committee, that I need to dig that out of my inbox and attach it to your submittable. It's totally fine either way. Just make sure I know how you are dealing with your letter of recommendation. Because your application will not be complete if there is no letter of recommendation. Image samples. So you can elaborate more on the proposed project with some more drawings, renderings, maybe pieces that you've started and you're using some examples to help explain that narrative of your project. If there's related work that you've previously done that makes sense to be in there so we can understand how you work and or how this project has come from something you've previously done. That is also a good example. If you have video work, you can certainly submit it in the link. There's a spot in the submittable form where you can put that video link. Make sure if it's something that has a password that you give us that password. And also make sure that if you give us a video link, that link that you provide us is available, for the next month so that we can review it. The image sample list is fairly straightforward. We're just trying to understand what the images are that you gave us. So give us a title, medium, dimensions, and year. There's a little example here. Oops. Tell us what the file name is so we know which one you're talking about. The title of your project, so forth and so on. Hopefully you don't have a live cat in there. Then the CV, this one's pretty basic. And there's not much that we're focusing on the CV other than to understand a little bit of your background, to understand if you've shown work in group shows, if you've shown them in solo shows, if there's any awards or residencies. This is just something that's informative to us. It's not something that we're necessarily looking at to see like, oh, this person has shown there, like we should put them to the top of the list. That's not the purpose of the CV for us. So I think it's really important to know what we are looking at in terms of the criteria. So the review committee will be comprised of a local artist that's exhibited at Locust Projects, a former LabMFA recipient, a local curator, or a local university educator. There's usually three to four people on the review committee. It changes every year. So what the review committee will have is they'll have your submittable application, and they're going to have these four criteria that they're going to be rating your proposal on. So they're going to be specifically thinking about if you have not graduated, does your proposal show a new direction or a step forward towards your MFA work? If you have graduated, which I should have added that note there, if you have graduated or you are graduating this semester, they're thinking about the same thing. Does the proposed project, is it an expansion of or a growth from the MFA work? Feasibility, you actually don't have to submit a budget on this one. I pulled it out of this year, but I will go over the budget amount here in just a minute. So you have to be proposing a project that looks like it would fit within our budget, and a project that looks like you could complete it in that 2.5 to 3 weeks prior to the show opening. So it can't be such an expansive project that the committee would be thinking, oh my gosh, there's no way that they could possibly do this in this time frame. Then does the proposal provide a unique vision? Is the artist taking an approach and or exploring a direction that we have not seen before? Does the artist understand where their work is in context of art history? We're looking for work that's not derivative of another artist. We're looking for projects that, explore new ground and not just new ground for you. Then the fourth review criteria is the conceptual strength. So what is the conceptual strength of the proposed project? Is the idea thought through, and does the proposed work convey the artist's intent? You may have a fantastic idea, but how you're proposing that you're executing it the committee may feel like, okay, I don't think this project is ready because, what they're trying to convey isn't seeming like it's coming out in how they're realizing it. So all important things to think about. Then, okay, while we're on this slide, I'm going to go over some of the amounts that you need to think about. So there's a production budget of 1,750. And you may be thinking, what does that production, what should I be including and thinking about it with my production budget? If anything needs to be shipped back to you, if you need to ship anything to Locust Projects, those are part of your, that's part of your production budget in addition to, whatever materials that you need. We do not like to select projects that cannot be created within the budget size that we've provided, because that's going to get a low ranking on feasibility, because we don't want you to commit to doing something that you can't realize. There's also an artist stipend of $1,500 that's separate from the production budget. If you are located more than 300 miles away, we have about $500 for a round trip airline ticket. And then, as I've already mentioned with the residency is there. You're not paying to stay in the residency house. And then there's a per diem. So when are these proposals due? They're due Friday, March 29th at midnight Eastern. Keep this in mind. I realize you could be in any time zone. I'm on the West Coast. But as I'm, looking at these things coming in, I'm remembering that that is 9 p.m. For Pacific Standard Time. So your email will fall on deaf ears if you send me an email at 9:15 Pacific Standard Time saying, oh, I didn't realize it was Eastern Time, that this was due. You need to be responsible for the deadline. So we will not accept any late proposals. There's always the chance of technical problems happening at the last minute too. So it does you no good to be the last person that submits. There's no advantage. I shuffle the applications when I provide them to the review committee. So there's no advantage to being the last submission. So please don't do that. And then that will relieve you of any technical difficulties that you may have. You'll get your application in time and you'll have no problems. How do you submit? You will submit through Submittable, which is a link on our website. If you have any questions, you can reach out to me at submissions@locustprojects.org. This is also where, same email address, that you can give your professors if they want to email your letter of recommendation directly. I'm going to go out for a second. I just want to pull up this Submittable. Sorry. I'm going to stop the share. And then I will answer questions. So if you have questions, go ahead and put them in the Q&A and I will answer them in just a minute here. I am going to first pull up the Submittable and Locust projects. Bear with me 1 second. Okay. Sorry, I have like 20 million windows open. Where's the right window? Here it is. With me, but again, go ahead and type your questions in and I will read them all aloud and answer them. Getting closer here. Okay, I'm going to share my screen again. And that is Spirit. Here it is. Okay. Again, just a few things on Locust Project's website. If you go to exhibitions and go to past exhibitions, you can scroll through the year. There's 25 years of history here. I highly, highly recommend it. You will only see these two exhibitions that are in the current project room because, like I said, we moved to a new space. So Cornelius has the other one. Jen Clay, I showed you in the sample, also was in this space. If you just want to see what work looks like in that space. When you're applying, this takes you directly to submittable here. And this is where you'll fill out your whole application. Okay, I'm going to go to questions. So again, please feel free to type in any questions here. So we have a question that says, can you apply with two applications, one collaborative and one as a solo artist? No, we're looking for one application per artist. So choose whatever you think is more competitive or is more where your mind is. Next question is, are there any media restrictions? For me, I use a lot of tape. Would it need to be gaffer's tape? No, Locust has always been very supportive of trying to help artists fulfill their vision. So there isn't really any media restrictions unless it's, something about you want to bring termites into the space or, something that would be destructive to the space. Then that would be something that we would have to ask you to try to work through a different way. And again, if I'm not answering your questions as much as you're looking for, you can feel free to type in more. So next question is, can we upload installation views if more than one work is shown on one image? You can certainly upload installation views. If more than one work is shown on one image, that's fine. You only have 4 things that you can submit. So if you have, image that you're showing an installation from multiple angles and that's in one of your images, that's completely fine. We're not looking to really restrict you there. We're just looking to get an understanding of some work and have it manageable for the review committee, that there's not so much there, but certainly fine to combine images into one if they're related. Okay, we have a question from Katie from the University of Delaware. I wanted to know if Locust Projects has any relationship with local queer community centers or other community centers that we would be able to work with during the residency. Locust Projects has lots of connections in the community. So if there is something, a specific, community group that is pertinent to your proposal, you should just be working that into your project description. And, we will certainly help facilitate those connections, point you in the right direction or connect you directly with somebody. Can the 4 images vary from the final works displayed? Yes. We would expect that the 4 images will vary from the final works displayed. either because you are providing us just with some work in progress samples, or because you're providing us some examples of previous work that's leading you into this work. We also understand that work evolves and changes, and Locust Projects works with you during that process. Once you get into this space, as many pictures as you look at of it, once you're physically standing in there, you may realize, oh, I had wanted to put this, element here, but it's not going to work. One thing to keep in mind, as you can kind of see, moving to the side, here in the project room, is it's not closed off. So both doorways are kind of open doorways. Just something to keep in mind. One thing that's a little bit different this year, which I did not mention, with the LabMFA is usually we have the LabMFA happening at the same time as the Lab High School. This year we pulled up the LabMFA to start a little bit earlier in May, because the high school students will be working in the space in the summer, and they'll be presenting their final project also in the project room, but after the LabMFA show. So I don't think there's as much overlap this year with those students being in the space, but I believe there will be some overlap. Other questions, things that I didn't explain well enough. Any questions about the criteria? Anything else? Now would be your time to ask. Or if I didn't fully answer one of the questions that you asked, I'm happy to elaborate more. Just let me know. Ooh, I just closed the questions by accident. Okay. How many pieces in the portfolio? Well, we asked for 4 images. So it's up to you how you want to put your application together. The way to think about this application is, how does each element of it support what I'm trying to propose as an artist? So how does my project proposal connect with the images that I submit? How does my project proposal connect with my artist statement? How does it relate to the floor plan rendering? So that should help drive you towards what those samples should be. So that we, have as much of understanding about you, your practice, the proposed project. We understand that you can realize this project, that there's some, reference in one or more of the images there that make us feel confident that you can pull off this project in this 625 square foot space. Which doesn't really sound like a lot, but when you're in there, it's a lot, and the ceilings are quite high. Like it's a pretty sizable space. Next question. Recommendation letter be targeted towards the Locust Project's proposal, or may it be a general recommendation letter? So again, I would be thinking about that letter of recommendation in that whole scope of your application. We don't know you. We don't know your work. We don't know anything about you. So the best recommendation letters, I would say, both address the artist in general, and also address something about the project. Because we are looking for you to tell us, or there to be some information within your application to understand how is this proposed project an expansion of either what you're currently working on leading up to your MFA show, or how is an expansion of your MFA work. It's great if you can, if you're getting that letter of recommendation from a professor and they're also, noting some aspects about that so we can help understand that. But minimally, the letter of recommendation helping us understand you, how you work, what your what your time has been like as a student at your university, all helpful. Next question. Could you please elaborate on what is looked for within the CV? Is there anything we should make sure to include, exclude? Is there any certain length that we should restrict it to? I do not like a CV that is any more than 2 pages. I don't think it should be any more than 2 pages. It's just one page is awesome too. It's just a example for us to understand a little bit more about you, just in terms of exhibition history, if there's residencies, what your education has been like. Some people, go directly into the MFA program after the undergraduate, and some people, there's a big, huge gap. All of those are just, helpful for us understanding you, where you are in the art world. We're not expecting any big grand things. If the exhibitions you've had so far are only very focused on the academic setting, totally fine. It's just more of an understanding to help with the feasibility piece so that we can understand, has this person shown their work before? I would think, if you're in an MFA program, you have shown your work in some capacity, whether it's just at the university. So there isn't, there isn't really anything particular, I would say, to include or exclude, but brief is good, 1 to 2 page. Just because it will give us that understanding that we're looking for. Okay. Any more questions from the live audience here? I'm trying to think of questions I get all the time too, because there's always a lot that I answer all the time. The collaboration one is one that always comes up. But hopefully I've addressed that clearly. There's no advantage to applying as a collaboration or as applying to as a single artist. It's just coincidental that the past 2 LabMFA shows have been collaborations. But we like both. It just happens to be what was selected. There's no advantage to being a local artist or an artist that's from Alaska, which would maybe be the farthest point away. Maybe I don't know if Alaska or Hawaii is further. This is for students enrolled in the United States. And those are the common questions I can think of. Okay, we got one more question here. Is there an opportunity after applying to get a quick review understanding what our strengths, weaknesses were in the application? I'm guessing this question is related to maybe that you were not selected and you're wanting to know if you were not selected, if there's any feedback that comes to you. You can ask me. So if you get a rejection letter from me, you can ask me how your proposal ranked within the group that we received. And if there's any specific comments that the review committee made that are constructive, I will pass them on. Hopefully that answers your question. So I'm not sure I understood it. All right, I'll give you all just a couple more minutes here in case you have a question. If not, we'll wrap things up so that we can get this up on the website for people who missed it. But again, I'm happy to answer any questions that you might have. If you do live in the area and you haven't been to Locust Projects, I would highly recommend going to see the space. It's very helpful to understand the space by actually physically seeing it. Right, last call for questions. And I'm happy to answer any questions you have. Actually, one more thing I'll tell you about the video links. So if you are going to submit a video link, that means that you are a media or time-based artist. We're not looking for videos that show your portfolio or, or a walkthrough of an exhibition. We're looking for those video links for works that need to be presented that way because they are time-based media. And the review committee will only review about 5 minutes. So just think about that. If you're providing more than one link, you might want to note on the image description, watch minute 2 to minute 3 on this one. So the committee knows what to focus on. All right. Anything else? I'm not seeing anything, so I will thank you all for joining me today. And I look forward to seeing your proposals come in. When your proposals come in, I do a pre-review to make sure they're complete, link up anything that's missing, like the letter of recommendation. And then I pass the proposals off to the committee to review and provide their feedback. And then you may be wondering, because nobody asked this question, when will we be letting everybody know about this opportunity? So looking at my calendar, that's why I'm looking here. Looking at my calendar, we hope to get back to you all towards the end of April, like the week of April 22nd, to let you know if you've been selected or if you have not been selected, so that you have about a month to get your plans in place. Okay, well, good luck, everybody, and that is it. And I will stop the recording.